I want to connect a relay to my Pi Pico using the PicoExplorer. I know I've got these motor controllers down here, but I want to be able to just turn anything on and off. So I've been looking through my parts bin and I found this little module, which is a ESP0101S relay. And I bought this because it was the only relay that I could find that was 3 volts. Now I think the relay connectors are these two, the coils are those two there. So I've just got my Pico here, which has got my Simon game on it. Let's see if I can just use this to get the 3 volts out. I want to see whether the 3 volts that's going into this can open and close that relay. I need to take one from the ground and one from the 3.3 volt line. So I don't know whether this would work with a 5 volt relay, but the 3 volts seems appropriate because the PicoExplorer is running from 3 volts. Let's zoom in a bit. So hopefully if I connect these two terminals, everything goes off. Alright, so maybe there's not enough power coming out of this to drive that. What I had hoped was that that would fire the relay. Try the other way around in case there's a diode in there somewhere. No. Oh, that's crashed it. Alright, hopefully that's not killed everything. No, it hasn't. Let's just get a battery and just put it across these terminals. I've just got a lithium cell here. Careful not to let the beams cross, but okay, so you might be able to hear that. That 3 volts is definitely driving the relay. So theoretically it should be driven from that. It just depends what current it takes. It's only a coil. So I want to try and use this in the way that this was intended. This little module has got this little connector on which connects to one of the cheap ESP, the little Wi-Fi modules. There's surprisingly small amount when I searched for this on the internet. There wasn't really a lot about it. There was a video about how to use it, but it was all about using it with this other ESP module. And I've been looking for a circuit diagram for that and I couldn't find it with what I was googling for. But finally I found someone selling it who had a data sheet. It shows you the schematic of it anyway. So it's like it's got this, the reset button doesn't actually reset this. It would pull the reset pin down on the module that you'd attach to it. So I was looking at this, which is a pin out of the little breakout on it. And this has got TXT and RXD. So I was concerned that I'd have to send an RS232, a serial signal through to it to do it. But then it's got this GPI0 and GP0 on there from the ESP module. So that looks like there's some pins on it that fire things. So what I'm going to do is to try and wire up the Pico to see whether I can get this to fire. And I've got my multimeter. Let's turn that on to continuity. And on one of these is pin 8 is the ground pin. So all I've got to do really, I've got some legend on this. So I've got this bit here is the ground. So let's connect to the ground like so and try all the pins. Oh, it's going to be one of the end pins, isn't it? Is that it now? All right, okay. So there's the ground pin. So that's pin number 8. So if I turn it over, that means that there is the ground pin. Right. So let's just move that out of the way for a minute. Don't need my multimeter. So if I take my ground, which is that one anyway, so remember grey is ground, and put it in there and I won't forget it. Okay, so that's put my ground in. So then if I look at this again, the 3.3 volt, let's assume that that powers the circuitry on this board as well. 3.3 volts the opposite side. So the PicoExplorer has just got the 3.3 volts out just at the top there. So let's pop that in there. That should now have livened that board up. The other two pins that are of interest, so they'll be on the top row as well, GPI 0 and GPI 2. So that's these two pins here. So let's take a signal from somewhere. I'll use this yellow one. Let's try grounding that pin there. So my ground comes out of this, and in my Simon game the two black wires are ground, so I'm just gonna jump in off my little rail on the breadboard. So that's ground now, so that's always ground. So let's just try grounding those two pins and see if it does anything. Oh, alright, so it doesn't do anything on GPIO 2, so pin 7 it doesn't do anything, but pin 6 it does. Alright, so that means to turn the relay on, I need to power this board up and then ground that pin there. Straightforward, isn't it? Now, can I do that? Ideally what I'd like to do is when one of these lights comes on, one of these LED lights comes on, that grounds it. Can I do that without changing this sketch that's running on it? Let's just think about this. So where's ground? So ground comes to here. I'm doing this the wrong way, isn't it? So I'm coming from the GPIO pins, which each of these LEDs are attached to. So one of them will come in there, goes to one side of the LED, so that's got to be positive because the other side goes to ground. So I think that means that if I take ground here and put it to the one side of the LED, I'm grounding it directly then, but to the other side of the LED then. That still does it. It's doing it straight away, isn't it? Oh, hang on, no, let's put it to there. So that's positive. So that positive's coming out of the pin and finding its way to ground. Ah. Okay, so that's working. So that was quite simple. So it's going the opposite way to I want, so that when one of these lit up, it turned the relay on. But actually, it's doing the opposite. It's holding the relay open until it hits that. Of course, this would do as it stands because these relays have a normally open, normally closed. So depending on how I wired up the device that I wanted to turn off and on, this would work the right way. But I would much rather that LED be on when I think the thing's on, because at the moment that LED is working backwards there. I'd rather it just not be on all the time, but only come on when this LED does. So let's see how I can do that. I probably won't use this yellow LED to fire the relay in the actual code, but in the next video let's look at that code and see what we can do to make the relay work.